Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless here with Carlos from Daily Carry Solutions. We're here at Blade 2021. We're about to walk into the Work Tuff booth, which for me is absolutely awesome. After a good long year of Work Tuff knives in my hands, hard use, just using these blades at length, well, now to see them here at Blade Show and walk up onto the booth, this is a special moment. And on top of that, fact is, well, I actually will have a couple of knives on the floor, which is very exciting to me. So we're gonna go meet the guys. It's excellent to finally meet these guys in person. But with that, let's get over to the booth.
So I've got clients galore calling me all the time. My phone goes off non-stop projects. I'm always listening to different music whenever I'm doing everything else for their projects.
And I didn't know that we had the
That's
there he is, right there. Finally, I get to meet him in person, man. What's up? And look what's front and center, dude.
I love it.
Yeah, that's what's up.
I love it. How are you?
I'm talking to our boy over at Voodoo, too, man.
Good.
To see if we can get a little more stuff going on.
Good. Good. That's a big deal.
Close-ups of this.
Oh, come on, man. Dude, watch out. You be like teabagging all these chairs.
All right. So Zeke, the first time we talked, I asked you a very important question.
Oh, God.
I said, who would win in a knife fight?
All right.
All right. Would it be a hooligan or a nomad?
Yes.
And what did you say? Do you remember?
Probably, knowing me, it was probably something situational, right?
Well, you said, oh, you know, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
And I think you were still in that time leaning a little bit towards the hooligan.
Yeah.
Although you admit you're becoming more of a nomad in your time,
Yeah, that's
right?
true, man. Yeah, absolutely, man.
But things have changed.
Yes.
Because now, not only do you have the original nomad,
Yes.
right? But you have evolved.
Absolutely.
Right? So I would go to say that one of your knives in the Nomad collection now competes with the hooligan for a little of that space.
Yes.
And has a little more fighting power. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely, man. And for that, I would definitely take the proper chopper. Yeah. Designed from the ground up. It's got the DNA of a kukri in it, and a little bit of C-ax and a little bit of cleaver all rolled into there. So basically, if it was a great historical chopper and a great historical fighting knife, it's got some DNA in this bad boy. Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to review this earlier on, and my analysis, I'm the hard use sort of woodscraft and firecraft guy. Firecraft is really my thing. I love splitting wood and making a fire. So when I see these blades, I'm like, yep, that'll do. And my analysis, no baton needed. I mean, this thing literally, you go right through the wood, split it with ease, good forward weight, yet at the same time, reasonable balance. You end up with that high saber grind. So you took a lot of the mass and you kind of evenly distributed it, along the blade, which was nice. But having that wedging capability just makes it right down through the wood. So
when you said that too, it was actually, I was watching the YouTube video, and I got to admit, Eric, sometimes I fanboy out on that stuff, and I don't watch too much of it, because then, I don't know, I think it goes to your head. So for me anyways, it goes to my head.
Yep.
But when you said that it was no baton needed, I thought, oh man, that's awesome. So thank you for that, man. I really appreciate it.
And I try to show it how it is. It performs how it performs. And I gotta say, man, it absolutely did it. So the proper chopper, man, it works.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
So not only this year have I had the luxury of handling a lot of these Work Tuff knives and putting them to good hard field use, I've actually had the opportunity, thank you to Victor Lin, for designing a blade that's now, and I'm hoping, going to be part of this lineup. And here, this is the Woodscraft Chanto. So a chopping Chanto design. Now Zeke, I am always interested to get a little feedback from other people.
Right.
I'm just curious, I mean, now hopefully for the first time, I'm thinking you've had the ability to actually see this in person.
Yes.
I mean, curious about your feedback. I always get to give you feedback.
Right.
I'm looking for some myself.
So generally, as part of what we do with Vic, he'll send me a prototype of just about everything and get me to kind of feel it out and all that. With this one, I did not get one of these. I picked it up at the table for the first time and instantly liked a couple of things on it. Instantly loved the weight and balance of this thing. The sub tip is kind of genius. I really like that. That was an awesome inspiration for that. The other thing that I really thought was cool about this, and how I describe it when people walk up to the table, is it's a small gladius that you use in the woods.
Right.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's one of the most historically profound knives ever. So if you're going to compare something to that, why not have a single edge version of it? The knife is tough, it's light, and for a lot of the chopping duties, it looks like it's going to do a really good job. I really like the acute point to this. I think that this will fill a niche for one thing that people probably are sleeping on, and that's something called a finishing knife.
Yep.
So like when you go hunting, you may have a boar. I used to hunt boar a lot growing up in Central California, in the Bay Area. We go out to Central California and hunt boar. My K-bar was that. I would have rather had something like this because it's basically an armor-piercing tip on this thing. Thinned out, but it makes no compromise to the fact that it can fight.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I think my initial impression, just in the drawings and without seeing it literally and handling it, I did have concerns that the tip would be kind of fine, but I didn't want to compromise the concept by thickening it out.
Right.
Now, I think this needs to come with a caveat that a lot of people with Work Tuff knives are used to super hard use. This can do a lot of hard use, but if people think they're going to go literally wailing on the tip of this, will they have problems? I don't know. I'm going to say maybe.
Yeah.
But to me, this is made more for a little bit of finesse and somebody who uses a little more skill than just literally fashion it down. And I do like the idea that you get some protection with the piercing tip.
Coming from a chef's background, right? And a guy that's done a little bit of knife fight practice work, that kind of stuff, because nobody's an actual knife fighter unless you're getting in fights with knives, and I don't particularly want to get in a fight with anybody with a knife.
Yep.
What I will say is that knife is incredibly acute, and as a guy that's had knives his whole life, I appreciate that.
Nice.
Because you know the parameters of the knife. You know the limits of the knife.
Yep.
You know exactly what the knife is going to do in a given situation. Now, would I jam this through a car hood like this one? Probably not.
Right.
But would I rather carry this if I'm going hunting? That's my design. I would rather carry that for that particular reason.
I appreciate it, and you can tell because it's reasonably light and nimble. Because I do a lot of hiking, camping, and then the backpacking.
You're being modest at that point. This is a super light knife, and it's super well balanced.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you don't need to be too modest.
I appreciate it.
You know what? And Vic said he's going to chamfer that up.
It's hard to know until you use it. Now, the thing about these blades is people are going to hard use them.
Yeah.
And that's where I ended up. I'm like, you know what? If you're going to beat up with the blade, it will beat up on your hands. It's just the bottom line. There's not much you can do about it.
Right.
You know, no matter how much you chamfer it, you're still going to have some hot spots. So for me, I just came down to it. I'm like, you know what? You wear gloves, it's mint.
Right.
You know, sometimes
it's a good review.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. But sometimes that's the truth. And man, it friggin' hits hard.
Yeah.
It chops like a bastard. It splits like a bastard. It's durable. You can't kill it. And to me, hard using a knife is its own sport. So embrace it, you know? And so what? I love getting a little beat up. I love having some marks on my hands. I'm like, you know what? I used my tool.
Right.
So yeah, it's fun. And it's real interesting to see how big this is, because I did not think that was as large as it truly is. Sick. Sick.
It's a big one.
So here we end up with a slightly different finish. That's sort of got like a little etching to it, huh? That's nice. That's fantastic. Yeah, really cool. So that's one thing I gotta say I've been really enjoying about the Work Tuff knives. Vic is experimenting with finishes, and I love that he's open to that. He's like, oh, let's try a two-tone on this, or let's splatter.
He just does it,
That's it's adding the art and the creativity to a functional blade, which is it's really refreshing, and it's nice to see it.
Right.
And keeps even the same blade coming out with a new iteration, which is fun. All right, so you might have, your camp knife, you might have your proper chopper, but to me, when you have a great design and you can see it through different size classes, sometimes different design elements can translate. Zeke, I think you've been able to find a way to kind of maybe scale things down a little bit.
And I liked it. Thank you for that, man. I wanted to keep something, and I wanted to keep what's really the idea of a through line through the entire Nomad line. So we started off with the Nomad camp, and from that we scaled that down to a Nomad field, which is that with a 6.5-inch edge. That's a little more field expedient, lighter. that kind of stuff. And then we ended up with this. And I'm not really known for small knives, but this is my idea of what an EDC carry knife should look like. Constant cutting edge. It's got that geometry with a high bevel on it, high grind. So you're able to cut with it, slice really easy. You're still able to do woodwork with it, all that. It's got what I call the nut cracker on the pommel, so you could, crack walnuts with it if you want to. All that good stuff. Nice little indexing points. One of the big things about my design philosophy in every knife that you see that I make is you can close your eyes and you'll know exactly where your hands are on that knife at all times and how that edge is going to line up with your knuckles, which in turn allows things to be a little easier, because when you're camping it's not always perfect conditions. It's sometimes in the dark. If you're soldiering and you need to go out on a night op or something like that, you don't know where everything is on your kit, but you want to have indexing points on your knife so you know exactly where it is blindfolded, and you can use it very easy that way. There's just try to think about every way that a guy would use a knife and fit it into this. And I thought when I designed it, nobody was going to like it. It was going to be super duper ugly, and it was just all function over form. And turns out that people were loving this thing. Absolutely loving it. I wish I had a million of them.
Well, I'll tell you, this was going around in a circle out there, and I told them, I said, I can't hold it yet because, well, I got to hold it for the first time sitting next to Zeke. So, nice. Well, all right, and here's the other thing that I really like is sometimes for me, and a lot of people look for a one-tool option, right? And that's great, and I appreciate when you can do that well, and you do that well.
Right.
But I'm a very big believer in a two-tool system. So now you've actually created that opportunity for people that are, a fan, they're a Work Tuff fan, they're a Zeke fan, and they're a Nomad fan. You now give them, that option to really run with the multi-blade system, which I do greatly enjoy. So initially, very well contoured, beautifully contoured, nice little palm swell, indexes perfectly well. I always like scallops on my knives for pinch grips, alternate grips, but also when you get on the side of the blade, that to me is always going to be your best ferro rod striker. So now, for me, this is that perfect little ferro rod striker. It's not that big knife that you're trying to wield around and crank sparks or make little, fluff to start your fire. This is safe, it's controlled, it fits well, it indexes well, and it fills out your hands actually perfectly to where the handle length is a full 4-fingered grip, and it indexes absolutely perfect. I also love that you guys broke the mold and you went with the ATS 34. So you're
old school. You have to do it. If you love ATS 34, you absolutely love it, and it's a cult following that's behind it.
Yep. Yeah. So you're influencing Vic, and again, I got to give props to Vic. He will allow you to influence him.
Absolutely, man.
And that's the community that you get here with the Work Tuff brand. So Zeke Minacho, man, I appreciate it, buddy.
Great to see you, Eric. Absolutely. And great to meet you, man.
Fantastic, and I hope this is literally just the start of a whole heck of a lot.
I think it's just the tip of the iceberg, baby.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's a nice scenery.